After we talked, I started setting up
Yeah.
on the big firm structures of immigration. I talked to some other attorneys that are in that niche area as well. And one thing I learned about it was the idea of accounting firms trying to get in on the immigration game, and
Yeah.
how some foreign firms got accounting firms trying to get around the rules of attorneys working with accounts. What is your perspective on that, and because it's such a game changer if we get non-lawyers involved, and I want to talk about that idea. It's not unrelated to the lifting, but it's something that's been on my mind because the California bar, for example, is trying to make it so that technology companies could start practicing immigration law even though they're not lawyers. And so once we get business people coming in, that's going to drastically change the legal landscape, especially for immigration lawyers, but all law, to have business
Yeah.
people involved. And there's a million and one issues that pop up, and it's going to destroy the old system, a whole new system get around. But like you saw that, and probably when those somewhat mergers or groupings happen, you felt that is solid. What is your perspective, and what's from your perch of how that worked out?
Yeah, no, good question. In my view, it's already happening.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a matter of like what will it be like when it happens. I think we're in the middle of it right now, and I think, and it's not just immigration law. I think kind of law as a practice is completely changing, and you're having many more technology companies kind of coming in
Mm-hmm.
and doing, maybe taking away a lot of the kind of like repetitive work that lawyers or their staff would do. But I think the biggest driver is like kind of what does the client or what does the customer want, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's less of a thing to be a lawyer in the eyes of the customer than it used to be, right? I'm not talking about immigration law. I'm just talking about like in law in general.
Yeah.
Like maybe we're just viewed as another kind of expert in our respective fields, right? As opposed to being a kind of quote unquote lawyer. So I feel like on a high level that has a lot to do with the changes that are happening. But yeah, I think, and as it relates to accounting firms, I mean, for sure, you have the big four are really kind of sensing, an opportunity to kind of work. They're already working with a lot of companies on the tax and kind of global mobility side, right, of things. And so they work with the same people that are often managing the global immigration programs of large companies. And so it would make sense for them to kind of offer kind of a comprehensive package, right, to these companies. Like the only problem is they're not lawyers, right? It's
Yeah.
supposed to be a lawyer to practice law in the U.S. So, they work. They have firms in Toronto and maybe Vancouver that are close by to the U.S. but are not kind of under the jurisdiction of U.S. law, and they practice U.S. immigration out of there. And so I know some companies that work with the big four out of those offices.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I definitely think it's the future, and I think we as lawyers need to get used to the idea that our practices are going to start becoming slightly less regulated from the perspective of you have to be a lawyer to own a law firm. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
going to change.
Yeah, this could be crazy. And that
Yeah,
kind of goes to marketing and branding. One thing I did in creating the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox and the Immigration Lawyers podcast is
yeah,
associate my name with the immigration lawyer. It's kind of a psychological tool, because one way I saw it is, IKEA got involved in furniture business and wiped out a lot of the mom and pop furniture stores and the corporate
yeah,
aspect. But there's still these high-end furniture makers that charge a lot of money to make unique kind of tools and unique, couches or beds or whatever. And so if I'm providing high-end concierge kind of immigration service, there's always that niche that I could take part in and get paid well for. But it is going to decimate a lot of the people who are middle of the road, are not charging a lot, or aren't doing like great, don't develop a name for themselves as a top lawyer, immigration lawyer. They're going to get wiped out as businesses get in and legal zooms get in and various products are coming in to wipe out. I mean, they're trying to make immigration is so personal. There's always a need for a
yeah,
person to handle it. But at the end of the day, if that person is going to charge 10 times as much or 5 times as much as some computer software, then people are going to go for the computer software for the most part. Like for O1s, I've seen a lot of people doing software in family-based marriage kind of cases. There's a lot of these things that they're trying to chip away at. Removal defense, that's going to be harder because you got to go to court. But I'm like you, my skill I saw wasn't in litigation and going to court every day. It was more in strategy and talking with clients. And so, people want to pay less, so they're going to opt in. A section of them, at least, are going to opt into these technologies, and that's something to think down the line. I think there's going to be a place for immigration lawyers, but know what your place is if you plan on, making a living
yeah.
and continuing it.
No, I totally agree with that. I don't want to give the impression that I think there are going to be less immigration lawyers needed, right? I just think that the nature of how we do our work is going to change. And so it's really good to kind of think about how are you going to adapt as a lawyer to what the future is going to hold, right? Across the legal field, the repetitive tasks, the tasks that maybe you don't necessarily need a lawyer to do, those are the ones that you can start considering, like how are you going to outsource those, or how are you going to use technology to help you with that, and really kind of work hard on the part that you're talking about, which is the advisory stuff, the consultative stuff. That's the part that you can never replicate, and that's where our true value as immigration lawyers lie.
I mean, part of our job is psychology, where people want to call and complain, and not complain, cry and worry and stuff, and just gotta be like, no, we'll get through it and stuff. I mean, that's just a human element that you can't get rid of. But can you charge tons of money for that? And maybe yes, maybe no. I'll have to see how that works out.
Yeah.